So, hello there, and welcome back to another Night of the Movies podcast. I'm Spike Knight, and in these podcasts, I love talking all things movies and TV, and whatever I want, whenever I want. And in today's podcast, I'm reviewing The Penguin Lessons. So, let's get into it, shall we? The Penguin Lessons is this new film starring Steve Coogan, that's right, Alan Partridge himself, alongside Jonathan Pryce. And this film is written by the same person who wrote Philomena, which Steve Coogan was also in, and Philomena was a wonderful film, and this film is directed by the same director as The Full Monty, which is also a wonderful film. So, I was looking forward to this film for those reasons. It's directed by the same person who made The Full Monty, it's written by the same person who wrote Philomena, it stars Steve Coogan, and it stars Jonathan Pryce. Those are boxes which are all ticked in my area. Plus, I was looking forward to this film because the trailers looked wonderful to me. They looked upbeat, they made this film look upbeat, they made this film look joyful. They had the song by the Doobie Brothers, you know, what's it called? Listen to the music. Oh, listen to the music. I mean, I can't sing to save my life, but Listen to the Music by the Doobie Brothers is a great song that whenever I hear it makes me smile. That song always makes me smile, and whenever I heard it used in the trailers for this film, I couldn't help but grin. Every time I saw the trailer of this film at the cinema over the past couple of months, I would smile and think, you know what, that's a film which I am looking forward to seeing. It may not work, it may be a bit dull, but you know what? It's a unique premise based on a unique true story. I love when you get these types of films or TV shows, for that matter, which are based on a unique story that almost sounds stranger than fiction, which sounds like it wouldn't be a true story. You know, someone finding a penguin that they don't really want and then they end up looking after. That's what the premise looked like to me when I would watch the trailers of this film, and I like when you get a unique premise for a film that it's almost irresistible. You know, it's almost irresistible. You just want to go and see it simply for the premise alone. And that was kind of what was happening with this movie. That's another reason I wanted to go and see it quite a bit. And so that is why I went to go and watch it at the cinema yesterday. And the Google plot synopsis of this film goes as follows. An Englishman, played by Steve Coogan in this film, experiences personal and political changes after adopting a penguin during a turbulent time in Argentina's history. And that's pretty much all you need to know about this film before seeing it. And honestly, I thought this was a good film. I really enjoyed watching it in the cinema. I found it surprisingly heartfelt and moving, and I laughed quite a bit, more than I expected to. And without going into too many details, I was left heartbroken by the end of the film. Quite heartbroken at that. I was almost getting a bit teary-eyed, which I didn't expect to feel, I didn't expect to almost tear up by the end of this film, but I was. And that was a really nice surprise for me in the cinema yesterday, because I went to this film not expecting much, and I'm not saying I got loads from it, I'm not saying it's a great movie, but I think it works for what it is, and then some, because I didn't expect to be moved by the film. I didn't expect there to be the political subplot with this movie, but I think that political subplot, this political context surrounding this film, which is very important to this film, added a layer to the film that I do think was needed and made for, again, as what he said, a more moving, a more emotional viewing experience. Plus, the film is wonderful to watch because of the whole penguin aspect of it all. I did not expect to say this when I was thinking about my review of this from a couple of days ago now, but after seeing the film, I'm happy to say the penguin ends up feeling like a character when you watch the film. To the point that when the penguin does certain things, I was watching this film and I was grinning quite a bit. I mean, I think it helps that I love penguins. I got one on my t-shirt that I'm wearing for this review today. One of my favourite penguins in all of fiction and all of media, which is the penguin in Wallace and Gromit: The Wrong Trousers, who returned in in the latest Wallace and Gromit film, Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul. The penguin I'm of course talking about is Feathers McGraw. Off topic there, but the point I'm making is I love penguins. So I was watching the penguin in this film, and maybe it's because I love penguins so much, but I couldn't help but grin every single time the penguin's on screen. And I love the relationship between Steve Coogan's character and the penguin, because at first Steve Coogan's character, you see this in the trailers for this film, he doesn't like the penguin, he doesn't want the penguin in his life. The only reason he saved this penguin is because he wants to sleep with this woman, he wants to impress this woman so he can sleep with her, and then he ends up growing this bond with the penguin that you get attached to, and is really entertaining to watch, and has a lot of funny moments in there. Or maybe not a lot of funny moments, but quite a few funny moments, quite a few memorable funny moments at that. You know, I'm not going to spoil many of the funny moments. I'm not really going to go into many more apart from this example which I'm about to give, but there's this great moment in the film where Jonathan Pryce, who plays the head teacher of the school that Steve Coogan's character is working at, Jonathan Pryce, when he learned about the penguin that Steve Coogan's character has, he says to Steve Coogan's character, it's either you or the penguin, and then Steve Coogan goes, what, so if I leave, the penguin stays? And that moment made me laugh out loud in the cinema, probably more than you would expect me to. I think a couple of the other people in this cinema were kind of surprised by how much I laughed at that joke, because it's not that funny, particularly the way I said it, but I found it hilarious. Yes, there's a lot of great comedy in this film, and this story I got into. I found it engaging. I will say, this film does lean a bit more on the slower side. This is not a fast-paced film, and for people who don't really like slow movies, you might feel, for lack of a better word, bored by this movie. I didn't feel bored, but I can see why some people might. And this is probably this is probably like a kind of Sunday afternoon type of film. This is not a film that you necessarily have to go to the cinema to see. I feel bad saying that, because I did end up enjoying the film more than I expected to. I thought it was a good film. But at the end of the day, if you want to go to cinema to see a movie, you don't necessarily have to go to cinema to see this film. It is more of a Sunday afternoon movie, but I think it's a good Sunday afternoon film at that. You know, good Sunday afternoon film that you can probably watch with your grandparents or your parents, or you can watch with the family, and I think everybody will get something out of it. I mean, it's not a kids' film, if you want to use that phrase. It's not a family film. It's not a Pixar film, whatever like that, but I can see it being a nice sort of family Sunday afternoon type film that people would enjoy watching, because that's what I felt like it was when I was watching this in the cinema. I was thinking, you know what, I could probably watch this with my gran in a good couple of months after it's come out on DVD or after it's on streaming, and I reckon she would enjoy this film. And you know what, that sounds like faint praise, but it's not. I can tell you now, it's not, because my gran is a picky viewer. She didn't like Wicked when I showed her that. When I showed her Wicked a good couple of weeks ago now. So when a film works for your elders as well as people like me who are much younger than your elders, you know. I don't really know what I'm saying there, but you get the point I'm making. When a film's working for people of different age groups, and I think it's doing a lot of things right. I think you can tell it's from the same person who wrote Philomena, because Philomena has that sense of, it has that comedic, has a comedic touch with it, but it's also quite heartbreaking, and this film is similar in that. And also, one last thing, I loved how this film was about how animals in our lives bring out the best in us. I can see people who own pets particularly loving this film. Now, I'm not a pet owner. I've never had a pet in my life. I've wanted to have pets. I've discussed it with my family in the past, but I've never had pets in my life. So, this film didn't work for me as much as it might for somebody who owns pets. I can see somebody who owns a pet watching this film and it working for them on a more deeper level, perhaps. I can genuinely see that happening. So yeah, that was another thought that happened. That was another thought that came to me when I was watching the film. I was thinking, you know what, I can really see the film working for pet owners. And I think it worked for me because I like penguins quite a lot. I found the bond, which sounds weird to say, but I found the bond, the connection between Steve Coogan's character and the Penguin to be believable and heartfelt to watch. So I really got into that. I found the story to be engaging enough to make for an entertaining watch. I found the film to be heartbreaking, which I didn't expect, and that made me like it on another level. And I thought Steve Coogan was wonderful. You know, I thought he was absolutely wonderful, given this empathetic and self-deprecating, performance that makes you laugh, but also makes you really care about him. Yeah, Steve Coogan does a wonderful job in this film as well. And I keep going back to that word wonderful in this review today, but that's the thing at the end of the day. This film is wonderful. It's a wonderful Sunday afternoon type of film. And you know what? That was enough for me. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that the Penguin Lessons, I'm going to say that it's a 7 out of 10. I'm giving it that rating because I didn't really like the film, but I liked it enough that it passed the time. It took my mind off the day I was having. Well, I said the day I was having. I went into the cinema pretty hungry when I was going to watch this film yesterday because I hadn't really had much breakfast and I was seeing this film before lunch. And I was thinking, God, am I going to sit through this film starving and just thinking about lunch? And you know what? I didn't. I'd be lying if I said I didn't think about lunch a little bit because, look at me, I eat quite a bit of food, so I do like my food. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't thinking about lunch a little bit while I was watching this film, but I wasn't thinking about it nearly as much as I thought I was going to be thinking about it. So that's another big plus for me. The film is taking your mind off what you're thinking about before you went to go and watch this in the cinema, or before you went to go and watch this wherever, from the comfort of your home, from the comfort of your own home. Then it's doing a good job, I thought it was wonderful. And that's where I'm going to leave this review today. That's pretty much all I have to say about the Penguin Lessons as a whole. And so, all in all, as what he said, and as I'm going to say once more, in this review, I almost forgot what I was about to say then, as I'm going to say once more in this podcast today, the Penguin Lessons is a 7 out of 10 from me. Anyway, guys, that's it for today's podcast. If you have seen the Penguin Lessons, then please let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching or listening to this podcast. And if you haven't yet, please click down below and like and subscribe on this video. And look forward to many more videos and many more podcasts coming very, very soon on this channel. As what he said, thank you so much for watching or listening to this podcast. And I will see you guys again soon. But bye for now. Bye.